Women. What things do men do that frighten you without 'em even realizing it?
When they emphasize that I don't need to be frightened of them completely unprompted. No easier way of getting me to be on my guard.
Oh God, I had one of these guys. He opened the train door for me to get off. It opens automatically, and so I said, thanks. Apparently he took that as an invitation, because he then followed me through the station trying to talk to me. I was polite but dismissive. He was creeping me out, so I stopped to top up my Metro card even though I didn't need to. He stopped and waited for me. I pretended I didn't see him. He then followed me out of the station asking me where I lived. I lied, and then asked me if I had a boyfriend. I said yes. He then asked if I had Facebook. I didn't answer, and then asked me if my boyfriend had my Facebook password. He then told me, "You don't need to be scared of me, I just want to be friends." By this stage one was fully freaked and was texting my boyfriend about it. I didn't want to go to my bus stop in case he followed me home, so I walked to the most populated street I could find, still ignoring him while he followed me. Eventually I went into a supermarket and thankfully lost him. I have never spoken to a man on a train or at a station ever again. I don't even make eye contact.
Approaching while in a car and blocking our path with said car. Happened while I was on a walk, so he could have parked, approached on foot, and maintained a respectable distance.
3 years ago I matched with a guy on Tinder and agreed to meet up with him. He suggested going to a park, and when I got there it was a heavily wooded area with a trail, and I stupidly followed him into the trail. We walked around for a while, sat on some rocks. Then it started getting dark and we decided to head out, but we ended up getting lost and not being able to find the exit, and we stumbled upon a grave-sized hole in the dirt, and at this point it was pitch black and I was thinking it was all a set it up and that I was going to be ambushed. I pointed out the grave-sized hole and he seemed scared too, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt and stayed quiet. We finally found an exit after about an hour of stumbling in pitch black darkness. We're still dating to this day, and I've brought up what a horrible date plan that was, and how it came off the wrong way lol, and he said he didn't realize it at the time. It was a total curb your enthusiasm moment. I was picked up that day, so I didn't have a car with me to back out and drive home, so that was pretty dumb of me too.
I've seen men comment on other posts, women lie about loving hiking. Whenever I propose it on a first date they say no and just want to do the standard boring cafe or restaurant. Bless them for having no idea that isolated first dates are scary as hell. I'm glad you are still dating your guy and it worked out well for you. The human-sized hole would have freaked me out.
It's not frightening, per se, but it definitely makes me wary because it could lead to situations that are frightening. When talking to a guy, he's super pushy. Like, asking for pics of this and that, and asterisk that, and even saying no, they're stilly pushy. All that makes me do is not want to meet him. If he's this pushy via text messaging, how pushy is he going to be in person? If he can't take no now, what are the odds he can take no in person? And #X200B. I once had a guy demand that I rank my sexual partners. I told him no. I told him, I can't and I won't. Dude flew off the digital handle. I blocked him right then.
Greater than I once had a guy demand that I rank my sexual partners. Was he looking for recommendations? As in, did he want to F them too? Asterisk, well, if you like twinks, Jake's your boy, but if you're looking to power bottom I should introduce you to Doug.
Asking personal questions that have nothing to do with why you are communicating in the first place. Example, getting my muffler welded and being asked by the welder, "Where do you live? How long have you lived there? Do you have roommates or is it just you?" And about 30 more personal and invasive questions. So effing uncomfortable.
Telling me things they would do to me if I didn't have a husband. Being out somewhere and them not letting me leave. Not taking no for an answer. Telling me that they drive by my home to see if I'm there. When men try to show off their dominance over you or anyone really. Like when you mention something to a guy about another guy and he goes, "I'll kill anyone who talks to you," it's quite frightening really.
Greater than, "I'll kill anyone who talks to you." This is straight out of a Wattpad love story.
Standing too close. How do you know if it's too close? I'll back up half a step, don't match it. Edit, wow, this blew up. Thank you for the awards, I've never gotten one before.
Holy poo, don't match my step back please.
Pick me up. I'm short and have a slight build. It's not that I'm scared of them trying to prove how strong they are, I'm just terrified of being dropped.
Gross. I'd forgotten about this. I was small in high school, and everyone would pick me up. They thought it was funny. Then I got old and fat. No one wants to pick me up anymore.
Hovering. Don't hover behind me. That's one of the very few things that makes me nervous.
I thought you wrote hoovering, and I was so confused why a vacuuming man scared you.
Pretending we're deeper friends than we are, being overly familiar and then acting like they have a right to you. Had a guy do this in college. When I told him he didn't get to dictate who I talked to, he spit his drink in my face. I barely knew him.
A guy I'm seeing took me out to a baseball game for our first date. It was nice, I didn't get any weird vibes from him at all. After the game, he asked if I wanted to go see some of the spots he likes to go walking. I didn't think much about it until we got there and I realized he was basically taking me to the woods in the dark. He told me to follow him and I'm thinking I'm about to get killed, but it turns out he just wanted to show me his favorite place to go on walks and chill because you can see the entire city from there and at night it looks really pretty. He took me to a couple more trails that night and I ended up having a great time and forgot that it's pitch black outside and I'm with a guy I've never gone out with before out in nature. Definitely thought I was going to get killed at first though.
What a bummer that moments like that are dangerous, because taking someone to a neat walking spot where you can see the whole city is like straight out of a romance movie. Blocking the doorway, especially during an argument. X did that and would make himself bigger, spreading his arms etc., so I couldn't leave the room.
That sounds like he knew exactly what he was doing. Glad you got out of that one.
I don't know why you're acting so cautious. If I wanted to kill you, I would have already done it. Said to me by a friend of a friend I was meeting because it was his first time in a foreign country.
I was told basically the same thing on my most bearable to share worst first date. Place we were going to go was closed, so he suggested a walk around the nearby lake. I stupidly agreed. Even though it was a usually busy public area, it was pitch black and almost no one was out. It was late at night and winter. The further we got from the street, the creepier and angrier he was getting, like he had been wearing a mask and it was starting to slip off. I was getting legitimately scared. Right as I made up my mind to turn around and leave, he said, "It's such a beautiful night. So peaceful and quiet out here. If I wanted to, I could really take my time raping and killing you right here and no one would even hear us." And then he laughed a big laugh, and tried to pull me in for a kiss. Said he just had an unconventional sense of humor and felt comfortable enough with me to be himself. Big yikes, buddy.
I walk and today a guy on motorcycle pulled up on me 3x. I mean dude, if I don't want to engage, then don't follow, continue to pull over to meet me or whatever. Adding, wanted to add that although my area feels very safe, I don't want to see any vehicle roll up on me, no shoulder. Because on President's Day, a car rolled up on me, windows came down, airsoft guns came out, and they shot me with rock salt look of triumph.
Just happened to me last month with a guy in a car. I told him I was taken and he kept protesting and told me to think about it. Like if I'm walking away from you and not talking, leave me alone. Like WTF.
Happened few times. I was working late in small market with no one around and when they come in and ask me if I am not scared to be alone. Well, now I am, thanks.
One time I was closing up shop not realizing a customer was still in the store. I was a new manager, and when he walked up to the register while I was taking out the till he said, "Wouldn't it be funny if I just robbed you right now?" and laughed. I was so shocked and scared I just looked at my cashier and we nervous laughed and politely asked him to leave, which he did. We freaked out after we locked the door behind him.
Years ago I went out with this dude and during snacks and a drink, it was pretty clear we weren't a good match. I politely turned down another round and thanked him. I put my bag over my shoulder and began walking to the bar to pay. Not more than 2 steps from the table the dude yanks my purse strap and says, "What, no hug?" Really taken aback, I hugged him and shuffled quickly to pay and get out of there. As I was paying I explained to the waitress whom I knew from another job that the dude was super creepy and asked if I could sneak down the back stairs. She let me go through and I rushed down the back stairs and then outside to my car. Breathing a deep sigh I got out of the parking lot and at the first red light at the corner where the restaurant was, was the creepy dude crossing the street. Without any hint of emotion, he whipped out a pen and wrote my license plate down on his hand. Never saw him again, that I know of.
This reminds me of my friend's experience. She took her dog to the dog park and let him off the leash, no other dogs were there. A guy, with no dog, randomly enters the park and approaches my friend. My friend was trying to get her dog's leash back on when he grabbed the dog by the collar. First red flag, get your hands off of my dog. He says hi to her and makes small talk before asking for her number. She told him no and that she had a boyfriend and he said okay and left. The next day though she gets a text from an unknown number. This guy had looked at her dog's leash and somehow remembered her number from the tag. Unfortunately her home address is also on the dog tag, so her and her boyfriend, who lived together, upgraded security heavily. She never answered the guy and he eventually stopped trying, but WTF.
First date, didn't really know him. Comes to my apartment to pick me up, invite him in and he proceeds to tell me how he is going to rearrange the furniture when he moves in. Back in the 70s I always picked up hitchhikers, picked up this guy, he gets in then looks at me and says, you know you should really be careful about who you pick up. Guy the first was living with, I know you will never leave me because you can't outrun a bullet.
LMAO. I feel like the hitchhiker guy meant well, but the guy you were living with.
Not going away when I have made it abundantly clear that I am not interested.
Joking about RP. Just makes me think you have RP on the brain. I met a couple dudes at a bar who invited me and my friend to a party they were headed to. We were trying to find a polite way to turn them down when one said, "Don't worry, we're not going to RP you." Ha, ha. We turned him down flat, and not kindly. Thankfully we were next to the bouncer, and his friend said, "Dude, what the F is wrong with you?" My question too.
I was once on a date and we went to watch the sunset on a hilltop. A police car came by and checked on us. We told him we were on a date, no big deal. Cop actually joked that if I were his date, he'd already have RPD me in the back of the car and wouldn't be sitting up front looking at a sunset. He kept lingering around too, it was so gross. My date got his badge number and we reported him.
Not accepting no or anything you explicitly outlined to them.
Also, demanding an explanation for that rejection. This one may be intentional, but it gives me the absolute creeps when men try to squeeze past me and lightly put their hands on me, especially my waist. I hate it. Just say, "Excuse me." Edit. Quite a few people have asked clarifying questions, so I'll give my thoughts on when it's okay to touch a woman in a crowded area. 1. Try to just go around her another way. 2. If you can't, say "excuse me." 3. If it's loud or something and that doesn't work, sometimes touching just can't be helped. Either just squeeze past if it's a packed area, or if you have to lay your hands on her, a firm, but not rough, hand on the shoulder or upper back is likely fine. Lightly tickling the lower back or small of the waist is creepy. Usually if you touch a strange man that way, you might be up for an ass beating. If you wouldn't willingly touch some big, strange guy that way, mostly looking at you, straight guys, don't do it to a woman.
Wanting to take me somewhere isolated to be just the two of us on the first date. It's okay if we've been hanging out for a while, but not if it's the first time I see you in person. Whenever this happens I come up with an excuse not to go. I just don't feel safe since I barely know the other person, but the worst part is when they try so hard to convince me to go with them. This makes me feel more and more uncomfortable. Edit. Okay, I've read some of your comments and I think I have to clarify some things. What I intended was that I make up an excuse not to go to that specific isolated place, which means that I actually go to dates and propose to go to public places instead. I've never ghosted anyone and I've tried to tell truth and make the other person understand that I didn't feel comfortable. Something I've been told many times is, "What do you mean by, I don't feel comfortable? Do you think I'm a crazy psychopath who RPS or kills people? Come on, don't say nonsense, let's go, get in the car." I mean, is this supposed to make me feel safe? By the way they react it seems like I'm offending them, which is clearly not my intention. That's why I started making up excuses, because they stop insisting only when they know that something bigger is preventing me from going. I'm fully aware of the fact that not everyone has bad intentions, but it's not something I can understand immediately the first time I hang out with someone. Besides, I don't blame those who are simply clueless. My comment was just sharing a personal experience, not a general attack on men, and you can tell by the fact that I used they and the other person instead of he. Both men and women can experience this kind of things, and I welcome everyone's story. For those who commented using not very kind words, please stop trying to make me look like I'm just a paranoid woman who can't tell the truth. And thanks to those who shared their experiences and opinions under what is one of my first comments here on Reddit. I really appreciated all these interactions. Stay safe, y'all.
Yes. Like the guy who insisted to go on a date with me that involved walking around the forest preserve trails at night alone, just the two of us. Like, no thanks, dude, I've seen Dateline.
Physical intimidation. Standing too close to me or backing me into a corner and making me feel trapped. It puts me on the defensive so fast. Edit for clarification. I know some men do this intentionally, but many do it unintentionally. Often men don't realize just how uncomfortable or intimidated they can make women feel with their behavior and body language.
I learned this in a body language leadership class. This is tactic bad bosses, supervisors will use to bully employees, standing between the employee and the exit, causing people to feel trapped and like they have to agree to get free. I am sure if people start thinking about workplace interactions, this behavior will be quickly recognized as toxic.
Someone saying, "Where's my hug?" or otherwise trying to imply that they are owed physical contact.
I'm a hugger equals, I'm going to pressure you into touching me in an affectionate way.
Not taking no for an answer. Especially when they pretend to be jokey about it, but you can clearly tell they're kind of pissed, if that makes sense.
I was walking through downtown DC on the way to pick up my son from daycare and had a guy stop me on the street to ask me for directions to museums. This isn't uncommon since I work in a touristy area, so I kindly answered his questions and was planning on keeping going, but he persisted. Him. Oh, you must be a local. I just moved here from New York. Do you want to get coffee? Me. Haha, no, thanks though, I'm not really social. Him. Well, you're laughing and smiling, you could have fooled me. Me. No, thanks, I am just awkward. I gotta go pick up my son now, thanks, bye. Him. Wow, you have a son? How old is he? Do you live in the neighborhood? Let's get a drink. Me. Haha, really, thanks, I'm gonna go now. The museums are that way, have a good day. And it is just uncomfortable that, like, me trying to be helpful and friendly to someone who was looking for directions turns into him not just once but twice persisting on asking me out. It's the kind of thing that makes me not want to be helpful to strangers because I don't know if you're asking me for real or if you're just trying to hit on me. I'm a guy, but I've been told by women that me raising my voice has been very frightening, triggering.
For me, the real bombshell was finding out that it was affecting people even if it was done out of excitement, not just anger.
Sitting right next to me when I don't know you and there are plenty of other seats available.
Some guy did this to me on a late-night tram once even though the entire compartment was empty. It seemed sketchy enough for me to get up, push past him and get off the tram. Which was a great decision because I later found out that that dude had flashed and sexually harassed a lot of girls on that line before.
Also, if we're making out for the first time and they do something aggressive, like pinning your arms over your head then holding both wrists with one hand, leaving their other hand free. It can be hot as F, but if I don't know you that well there's a terrifying moment I wonder what I'm in for. Edit. I think OP's boyfriend may have hit upon the perfect solution for this, see replies.
Agreed with all of that. My BF did the arm pinning thing early on, but, after he caught my hands, he paused, leaned in close, bit my earlobe and whispered, "This okay?"
Or, blatantly taking your picture, with their phone, in public. Do they think we don't notice? Even worse when their aim is clearly directed below your neckline.
Being overly familiar with me, in a situation I cannot leave. I used to ride the bus home from work, and my schedule varied very little. This led to me getting on the same bus at 10:20 at night, at the same stop every night. A man who rode the bus the same times, the same nights, took this as me wanting to be his friend. He immediately started asking me super personal questions. The highlights. You must live around here because you always get off the bus after me. Who are you texting? I wish I could text you. Who do you live with? You must work at underscore, 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 underscore because you always walk from over there. This is after me telling him I didn't want to talk, and that I didn't want to go out with him. And #X200B. Edit. Whomever reported me to Reddit cares, awesome. I don't need that. I don't appreciate it. The situation I mentioned above is being taken care of by the proper authorities, and has been for the last few months, thankfully.
Rare happy ending exception. I saw a guy interrupt a strange woman to ask where she lived and what route she took. She naturally looked terrified and gave a vague answer. He looked mildly unimpressed by her vagueness, then told her where he lived, then over several minutes gave an efficiency report for every method of transport and route combination he had ever used to get home. By the time he got to the 9th one, she realized he was autistic and changed the subject to bicycles.
Going to the bar to get you a drink without you there to watch the bartender pour it. If I don't know you well, I won't accept a drink from your hands. Ever. Straight from the bartender to me. Edit. I want to thank everyone for all the upvotes. I am trying to reply to everyone I can. You're all awesome.
F me. I just had a crazy realization. About 4 years ago, I was at a bar with a bunch of friends. Everyone there was really close, with the exception of a woman who was new to our friend group. I worked at the bar, and so I had a really good relationship with the staff. I went to the bar and ordered 6 pints, and brought them on a tray from the bar to our table myself. The new girl asked me to taste her beer for her and tell her what it tasted like. We were all fairly tipsy and I didn't think anything of it. It's fairly common at a bar to give out taster pours and all that. I took a sip without hesitation, and she just nodded and said thank you and grabbed it before I explained what it tasted like. I was a little confused and have been wondering what it was all about, until now. Edit. Another user has pointed out the inefficacy of the tactic of the woman in my post. I feel that it is important to say here that I agree. This is not a foolproof way of determining whether your drink has been spiked. An experienced or smart predator will have a tolerance built up for the D, or have an antidote on hand. I need to stress that this is not a foolproof tactic. Best idea is to have full accountability of the drink from the bartender's hand to yours, and to maintain 100% accountability of that glass at all times. Do not break the chain of custody. When the bartender hands it to you, you keep an eye on it. If you ever leave it, it's over. Even to a friend. Don't risk it. Edit. My fellow bartenders. Do your due diligence and prevent this kind of effing barbarity from happening under your care. If someone orders multiple drinks, those drinks go to separate humans. This is actually built into law in a lot of states, so effing look it up and prevent date RP. If it's not a law in your area, bring it up at a community council meeting and make it a law, and help your place of employment become an arbiter of safe practice for women. Even if it's not a law and you can't be F-ed showing up to talk to a bunch of sniveling politicians, at the very least bring it up to your manager and request training for date RP prevention.
Now you know. Unfortunately, while most men are good human beings, it's hard to put your faith in the idea that the person you're around is one of those good people. Especially after things happen to you. I want to trust people more, but it's hard.
Pushing my wheelchair to help me and be a gentleman. You're literally abducting me. It's no different from my perspective that you picking up an able-bodied woman and running off with her.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.